Hello, this is Roger Bisbee from Skill Builder. We're back with Robin Clever for podcast number 5.
5 already?
5 already, and this one we're on the sofa, so far so good. We've finally, hopefully, found somewhere that is quieter.
Yeah, I know. We're basically going everywhere and doing it anywhere. So Roger says to me, I'll pop by here, and I say, what's going on? Podcast. Okay, so it could be anywhere. I'm even thinking to myself, we could be on with a beach in the background or something like that.
It could be anywhere in any subject as well. Do you know what the subject is this one time? The subject is dealing with complaints.
I've got a complaint.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Go on.
Don't like this subject.
Right. I mean, no, nobody does actually, do they? Because, the thing that you dread, the thing that saps your energy, you can work hard all day long. You get up early in the morning, work, 12 hours or whatever you're doing. The thing that really saps your energy is when you've got an awkward customer, you've got to phone them, and they want to have a go.
It amuses me, Roger, because we're a nation of complainers, aren't we? But then there's some people, and we've all know someone in life who just complains about the whole thing. Everything's a problem. It's raining. Oh, this is going to bother me, and all the rest of it. So we are a nation of complainers, so we should have a lot to talk about.
We need to separate out complaints from whinging. You've either got to take the decision whether you're going to work for those people, put up with that, whether you're going to manage it, whether you're going to get on side and... if somebody start following you around with a dustpan and brush, you better be blooming good. You better have your dust sheets, your vacuum cleaner. We get a guy on site who does nothing all day but tidy up. And if you said to them at the end of the week, do you know what? It's cost you 350 quid just to keep this job tidy, keep the dust down. They would probably balk at that. But because you've put it in the cost of all the other bits and pieces, they don't see it. But yeah, if they're that kind of person, they're going to complain about the mess. And I've tried sometimes, in the past, I've said to people, this is not our dust. It's your dust. We're not bringing bagfuls of dust into the house and sprinkling it. This is a byproduct of you having building work done. We don't think we're creating it.
And that's pretty good, Roger, to lead me actually, because it all goes back to experience of managing people and managing expectations. Because people imagine the finished product, but quite a lot of the time they have no idea what the process is. So they might know that you're going to take a wall out here and you're going to strip a floor there and add a bit of an extension on there, but they have no concept, unless they've had building work done before, of just exactly how much disruption that is, and all of the variables, the weather. It could be muddy, it's going to be dusty, and there are so many things. So I suppose after 30 years of working, I now can predict to the clients what it's going to be like. And I also tell them that this is something I heard some years ago, that when you're working in someone's house, say you're doing an extension, there's about a 6-week period where they can tolerate you being around.
Absolutely.
Then after the 6 weeks, it's just like they're just fed up with the fact that there's an intrusion. There's guys arriving 7:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. They're milling around outside. They might be having a ciggy outside, nothing wrong with that. Or they might be chatting and laughing, the newspapers and all the rest of it, because we just have to have our cup of tea and a cigarette somewhere. And it's kind of an intrusion, and people get a bit fed up with that. So what I tend to do is say to them, in 6 weeks, you're going to start getting fed up. And by telling them that, then they get to 6 weeks and think, I don't feel that fed up. And all of a sudden they're thinking, it primes them a little bit, managing their expectations.
No, you're right. I mean, that's a very good point. But I think actually for a lot of people, it's such a culture shock having builders in, because let's face it, okay, look, without wishing to be too sort of, class of whatever, a lot of the people that we end up working for, me and you, have got money, right? They've lived a kind of a sheltered existence, if you like. They've gone to a nice school, they mix with, posh people, nice people. Everything in their life is fairly controlled and refined. They probably don't even hear that much swearing. Suddenly they've got these people, to all intents and purposes, come from another planet. And they're going, blimey, it's such a culture shock. You wake up in the morning, they're in my house, I can't stand it. They're using my loo, sometimes. Yeah. And it's all that stuff that just freaks them out, so I think from people build those problems. I've seen them, honestly, next door to me. I didn't complain once to the builders next door to me, but they built 2 houses. They were animals, not only with the dust, not only the fact they never used the slightest bit of water suppression on their skill saws, but they were swearing, they chucked their rubbish, arrived with coffee cups and McDonald's burgers, chucked them over our fence. They just threw them over. It's just like, oh, keep a tidy site, chuck it over the next door neighbours. I never complained. There were vans were blocking the drive. I never complained once to them because I thought, first of all, they're going to think I'm a grumpy old git. Second, I thought this will end. This will not go on forever. And when it ends, you won't have to have any, disruption. So the quicker it gets done, the better. So don't make their life difficult. They won't make your life difficult. But let's supposing the worst has happened. We've actually got the complaint, right? So they've had a nervous breakdown. They're just fed up with us. What do you do?
Well, it depends how the complaint comes. I mean, I'd prefer people to talk to me face to face if they've got a problem. Sometimes when you get an email on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, that's the worst time to get it, because you just think, I'm not answering it now. And it sets you up bad for the week, sort of thing, You think, oh no, I can't face this or whatever, and it's kind of like fight or flight, isn't it? Do I really want to go back? They're just really doing my head in, and I've done so much for them and all the rest of it. And all they're saying is the fact that you said that you'd be finished 3 weeks ago, and we're now thinking we're not happy with you carrying on or something like that, And it's kind of like, that does my head in. Especially when you haven't been given the impression, as you've been going through the work, that they're unhappy. If they, well, all good, all of a sudden you get an email, you think, where did that come from? It's almost like there's been a conversation between them, or one side of the party has been nagging at the other one, saying, oh, I'm not happy, you should say this to them, and then they finally got the courage up to send you that email and make that complaint or whatever. And generally speaking, I'm happy to say it doesn't happen to me very often, but again, it's only through experience. Maybe 15 years ago, if email was more apparent, I would have got those emails. But back then in the day, it was a phone call or something like that.
That's interesting, actually, because what you're now saying is the communication.
Yeah.
There are so many more methods of communication, so therefore there are so many more avenues for them to complain to you, whereas they used to have to pluck up the courage to speak to you to your face.
Yeah.
And then, they're sitting there and they go, I've got some grudge. And that grudge could have subsided, but for the fact that they've got a keyboard there and they can ping you off an email, and they may regret it 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
So
and there may have been a glass of 2 of wine involved.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, it's amazing the number of people. I've had this all my career. I don't sound like I have a lot of complaints, but in the other things that I do, working for magazines and so on, and I've done a review of a product, and the advertiser is jumping up and down. They don't like my review.
Yeah.
And the ad guy's saying to me, oh, that bloke's really upset with you, he's after your scalp, So I phone the guy up and I say to him, here, I understand you got a complaint. Oh, well, no, it's not quite. And then they're backpedaling like mad, as soon as you say that to him, well, no, come on, tell me, what's the problem? So, but some of them just are backpedaling, well, it wasn't that bad, I just thought maybe you were a bit harsh on me, this, that. So I would say, look, I'm going to try and resolve this for you. Let's see where we can get to on this. You've got to understand my point of view, I'm going to understand your point of view. But it's that kind of thing, isn't it?
It is.
Absolutely.
I mean, going back to the fact that we're tradesmen first and builders first and the rest of it, we don't have the luxury of psychometrically testing all of our future clients. And clients, we just have to go with luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, and
you'd like to know if they've got any previous history of mental illness.
First impressions don't always count, which goes back to your point of it's great to be recommended by a client. Both ways, be recommended and recommended a client to us as well. Yeah. But I do think it's really important, if you feel that the client might start complaining about something, address it. So prior to the complaint coming, or you've got to start thinking before you even start a job, what potential complaints could there be arising during this job? I.e., is it going to be particularly dusty and you haven't told them that? Is coming into the winter, is the rain likely to slow things down and make things really messy and trashy? So I suppose it's trying to also like a risk assessment of
that's a good thing.
Potential pitfalls, and I think it's always best to lay these out and say, obviously without putting them off and not getting the job, obviously, because there'll be someone else who turn up and go, it's going to be sunny for 6 weeks and I'm going to be able to get your job done in too. And there's a lot of people out there who will say what they need to say to get the job, and fair enough, it's a matter of survival. But if you could say to people, we will do our best to control dust, but you need to take your own responsibility for your possessions. All right, and all of the fabric of the building that's going to be affected, we'll do our best to sort of sheet it up. Or if you want, we haven't priced for it and you haven't asked us to, but we could put temporary partitions up. We could seal these all in, and that will restrict. But there'll be a cost involved in that, and you haven't asked me for it. And if I priced it in my work, I'd be too expensive. So there's other options, But I suppose go back to my point is trying to think to yourself, what in this job, in this operation, what could be the cause of complaint? Is it going to be noise with the neighbours? Do you need to go and speak to the neighbours? Because I always do, if I'm doing a large domestic building project, it's going to take, say, 8 or 10 months. I always say to the client, you need to speak to your neighbours and put them in the picture. And I'm prepared to write them a letter to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is roughly what the duration of the works is, and this is how it will impact on you. And just like the guys throwing the stuff over the fence... it's kind of like it's avoiding that. And on the same side as that, I'll tell my fellas, this is the letter we've written to next door. This is the framework that we're working within. No noise before 8 and after 5. No noise after 12 o'clock on a Saturday. Definitely no swearing if you can help it outside, or shouting, or keep your radios down. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To avoid the normal complaints.
I would always ask a customer if they minded me having a radio on. I would never presume that they would tolerate a radio, because some people don't, and some people don't want Radio 2 or whatever it is blaring out, or whatever hip hop, they've got their own thing. They say, well, I don't mind you having it on if it's a Radio 3 or whatever, but I think the idea that you come into someone's house and you have a radio blaring out all day long is so bad mannered. Myself, that's what I think, So I look at all those things and I say to them, right, do you mind us doing this, do you mind us doing that? The other thing you want to be aware of, is there an awkward neighbour? So I say straight away, if I'm doing something that's extensive, like an extension, how do you get on with your neighbours? What are they like? Are they okay? Because you know that, I'm not going to name names, but that guy that you've got next door, that job that you're on at the moment, he's an awkward so-and-so, isn't he? He thinks he owns the whole street.
I mean, he's great, because he looks at me, and I've come straight from site, so I've got my skill builder. Look, it's got holes in it. Can I have a new one, by the way?
Oh, goodness me.
It's got holes in it. So I'm on site there, and I pulled up. So it's a big detached house. He's in a detached house. Nice cul-de-sac, not busy. We've got 5 or 6 vans, but we've got enough space to park over the drive and all the way outside the house. But when we parked over the drive, which belonged to our client, he came out to me and said, you can't park there. And I went, sorry? He went, you can't park there. I said, no, we can park here. This is the drive. That's where we have the skip and everything else. And he said, well, it makes it harder for me to negotiate my drive when I'm reversing in and out and all this business. And I said to him, I think you're being unreasonable. And he went to me, you can't tell me and all this business. And I really thought, I'm not going to just keep him sweet, because this guy's done nothing but ask me questions like, how long will that skip be there? It's behind a hedge and he can't even see it. It's just, some people, it's an invasion of their space, do you know what I mean? Well, but he talks to me like I'm just some,
That guy in particular.
Excuse my French.
First of all, I think the thing you need to know about that guy, probably, if we're going to go into his psyche, is that, what did he do for a living? Maybe he was in charge of...
Pissed people off.
But maybe he was in charge of
pissing
100
people off.
Maybe he was in charge of 100 people in his job, and then he retires. He's in charge of nobody.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Not even his wife. So now he owns a street. He's watching all the time behind his curtains, up and down the street. You pitch up. You're an invader, and suddenly he's at war, and he's at war straight away. And I've had these guys. They hide behind the wall as soon as you park. They're up there going on about this. And I actually said to one guy once, and this is no ball. There's no story. I said to this guy, do you know what? If you can trace it back to the point in your childhood somewhere where somebody did you such harm that it's made you into this bitter, twisted guy now, you might be able to get some help. I said, get some therapy, get somebody to help you, because at the moment you're just... And he went mad. He went absolutely ballistic with me. But I just thought, no, I'm going to say it, because I know when this guy's just going to keep coming at me all the time. And sometimes I think it's that question of, if you're that kind of complainer, you can't give ground, because you give ground, they keep coming at you. You have to say, right, stop. Now, this is the line. This is where I am. This is your property. That's my, and this is the street. Everything out here is public. You don't own it. You want to, and go from there, because they know they can't call the police to get you shifted. You're not causing an obstruction. He's just got to turn his wheel. And I would say to him, probably, I'd say, look, I'll tell you what, mate, next time you want to get your car out, let me do it, because I can drive
Well, let me tell you a really interesting. This is the last anecdote, okay?
Go on, it doesn't matter. I think people want them, and we want to hear yours. By the way,
this is a really interesting anecdote, and one of my best friends, Carl, I'll name his name. Yeah, he's a fabulous carpenter. He came with me as a mature apprentice in his sort of early 20s, and he basically worked with me. He's just a passionate guy, and he's really entrepreneurial. He's done really well for himself, but then he became sick, and he had to have a kidney transplant, and. During this whole lead up to this kidney transplant, he was doing a conversion on his maisonette, which was in Southfields in London. So it's a rows of terrace houses turned into maisonettes. He's got the top one, putting a loft conversion on it. And right next to him, on the corner of the road, was a little backfill site with a pair of smart gates, and it was a little modern mews behind. And parking is always an issue there. And his scaffold, which he needed, had to be flying over this little driveway. Yeah. So the guy in the first house here was objected to the fact that Carl said, can I have permission from the residents for a scaffold to maintain and build my roof? He said, no, but on no account we want your standards, the uprights of the scaffold coming down. There's plenty of room to get in and out. Yeah. So Carl said to the scaffolder, can you do me a flying scaffold? So he beams and all that, at great expense. Yeah. Put the scaffold up and all the rest of it. Now, Carl was really poorly. He called me, he said, would you be able to come and just get my loft along, put the framework up for me? I said, Carl, of course I will. So I came along, and the first day I started, this guy from this first house has come out and he's gone, oi! And I've gone, yeah, all polite. And he said, want a word with you? And I said, what's the problem, sort of thing. I was thinking, well, what's happened? He said, this is a very expensive car, pointing to his car. And he says, if there's one bit of dust on here, he says, I'm going to sue you. Literally like that. And I said, we had to strip the roof off, build a gable, repoint the side of the house, which involved, there's no way you're not going to get dust. You can use water and all the rest of it. But anyway, you can see where this was going. So we did our best. We sheeted out all of the scaffolds. We hardboarded them so we could sweep them easily. And we did our best. But he wasn't a happy chappy, this guy. Anyway, it was my third wedding anniversary, and one of my customers, a really, really nice guy, had a beautiful Ferrari. It was amazing. And I jokingly said to him, Nigel, I said, it's my third anniversary. He says, oh, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking my other half away to Brighton for the weekend, and I was thinking of borrowing your car, jokingly. And he sort of said, well, actually, I'm not using it the weekend. When do you want to pick it up? And I said, no, Nigel, I'm only joking. He said, Robin, it's fine. Look after it like it's your own. And so I couldn't believe it, and I thought I'd take him off on it. So I went up there. This is in Putney, which is a bit more north of Southfields, where the job was. So I've gone over there to pick it up on the Friday lunchtime. And as a surprise, because Carl was poorly, I thought I'd pull round. He's a bit of a petrol head, likes cars. Pull round and say, come on, let's go for a spin. So I pulled up, and the only place to park, being I couldn't parallel park this thing, it was amazing, was right outside these gates. But I thought, I'm only going to be a few minutes going in to get Carl. And with this, I pulled up here. Carl, I've got inside, and Carl's now asking me all kinds of questions, and we got sidetracked, had a cup of tea, and then I can hear this little nice polite beep, 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 like this, because I've blocked the gates to these little mews. So when I've gone down there, the guy that had given me all this is a very expensive car, he had a 3 Series BMW, it was a nice car. Yeah. He looked at me, and if you could have seen the look on his face when he saw me, he didn't know it wasn't my car, but the look on his face was absolutely priceless. So he judged me for looking like a tramp. Yeah. And when he saw that, and I didn't see or hear another peep out of him, the whole job.
That's interesting.
It was almost like he was shamed into embarrassment, Yeah. And there's no need, there's no need for him to be an arse to me in the first place. But I wasn't an arse back to him, even when I parked that car there. It just worked out. God was on my side. He probably looked down and said, "This is a good." So that's
brilliant. That do you know what? Everything is involved in that story. The psychology of the guy, where he sees himself in society, and he suddenly you've gone and one up on him on a pecking order, haven't you? So he's now not the alpha male. That's absolutely fantastic. So I think the moral of that story, then, you've got a dodgy customer, you've got a dodgy neighbour rather, go and hire a Ferrari for a day or so.
I think then they might just think you're a crook.
But do you know what? That would backfire with another guy. But that's interesting that after that he just shut up.
Yeah, it was
just got to find someone's Achilles heel, haven't you, really?
He had no idea that I didn't have my own BMW or whatever. I could have quite easily had a car like that,
Yeah,
so,
well, I know what you drive. So
anyway, that's enough of that.
I'm not even going to mention
that's enough of that.
So no, but that's
well,
fantastic.
How do you deal with complaints?
So, okay, look, on the mechanism, because this is another ramble podcast, it's fine. I hope people are interested. I hope that they tell us their experiences, because we want to use this as a catalyst, as a trigger, if you like, for hearing other people's stories of the customer from hell. But certainly it happens, and if it happens, I say the first thing I do is I say, right, I want to take this complaint seriously, right? Okay, so hang on just 1 minute, will you? And I get pen and paper. All right, so my little notepad in the van. I go out, I'll get there, I'll make a big fuss of this, go out and get there, and I'll sit there, right? Okay, so now I'm ready, all right? Now I'm ready. So I'm going to write down what you say. So they say, right, well, we're not happy with the finish on the front door, the paint finish on the front door. So hang on. Not happy with the finish on the front door, right? And I take my time to write that down and just say, right, okay. So the important thing about writing it down is that it slows them down.
Right.
At one point they're on a blooming, they're just going to reel off one thing after another. Now you're listening to them, you're writing it down. So suddenly they slow down, right? So what's the next thing you want to talk to me about? Well, we're not happy with guys coming in and swearing or whatever, right? So I'm going to write that down. I'll write that down. And then you just carry on and you say, right, anything else? And by that time, they're kind of thinking, oh, God, do you know what? My mind's gone blank. I did have something else to complain about, but I don't know what it is. So you've slowed them down and you've written it all down. And this is very important, because at some point, if there's a dispute and everything, you've got a record, and that's very important to have a record of it, dated, timed, when they said it. So they said it, right? So then you say to them, is that it? Is there anything else? Are you sure? Okay. And then you draw a line under it. Proper line under it, just go,
and that's
okay. So that's the complaints. Now we're going to deal with the complaints. Now, if they then say blah blah blah, you say, hang on a minute, I asked you if there was anything else. Now you're adding another complaint, are you? Okay, right now, and so you make a big thing of, right, so we'll write that one down. Okay, now, are you sure now that that's the end of it?
But you don't want to start getting
no, but that's fine.
Confrontational,
no, you don't, absolutely. But I say, right, so let's just get, because I'm trying to deal with these things, but if you just keep adding things to it, how am I going to deal with them, right? So honestly, let's just say, if that's it, okay? So we don't want this to become an endless thing, an open-ended thing, because otherwise we're never going to be able to resolve these things. So if that's what, okay, I know what you're saying, I'm a bit cocky with it, maybe, but I've got it down there, I've got it in writing, and you'd be amazed at how it slows them down and makes them think about what they're saying.
That's a good tip.
So I say, right, so that's it. So now we can begin to resolve these points one by one, and we talk through these points. Now, at some point, you need to know what they're expecting from it, what they hope is a good outcome. So what are you looking for? What do you want me to do here? And if I say, well, I want compensation, I want a refund, I want this, I've been traumatized, I need counselling, I need to go away on
traumatized when Roger goes to work for you. Traumatized.
Well, they need to go away on a 3-week convalescence thing because you've upset. Anyway, whatever it is that they want, they want some kind of compensation, right? You're going to decide whether that's a reasonable line or not. Now, it may well be that you say, well, if that's all you want, if that's all it's going to take to solve it, let's do it. I'll give you 20 quid off the scratched, mark on the glass or whatever it is, So at that point you can say, right, actually, I'm buying myself out of this, just as easily as that, right? So you're happy with the £20, are you? Right, okay, that's done. Give you £20. We go our separate ways. Other times when they're saying, well, I want this, I want that, then I'm going to have this, then I need a brand new car. And then I say to them, well, that's not going to happen. And that's a great phrase. When you just say to them, you don't say, I'm not going to do it. You say, that is not going to happen. Right? So we dismiss that. So that's so it just slows them down, gets them to that point where they can begin to think about what their outcome is, the way you resolve it. So the other thing is, what is your complaints procedure?
Yeah, that's true.
We don't have enough complaints to have a complaints procedure. Actually, we rarely get complaints. And I know that's a terrible thing of you making them feel like a freak, like they're the moniest. But say, do you know what? From one year to another, I don't get in a situation with customers where we have to have any kind of structure for dealing with complaints. But I'm taking your complaint seriously. I want to resolve it. Obviously, my reputation is very important, as is giving you a good job. So it's that kind of emotional, because a lot of it is coming from emotion. It's not coming from logic, is it?
No.
It's coming from, and the other thing that I've learned in life, people have got high IQs doesn't necessarily mean that person's got a lot of emotional intelligence.
Right.
They could be very clever. They could have a PhD. They could be gone to Oxford or wherever, and they could be the most brilliant person in the world. But on an emotional level, they might not be intelligent at all. They might not even be able to understand their own emotions. Territorial instincts, for example, you turning up in that guy's street with your vans and your skip and your noise, right? It's his street, it's not your street. So what he needs, because he's basically got his chimp out. That's a great book, by the way, I read, called The Chimp Paradox. I'd recommend that to anybody, because it's all about confrontation. So like road rage, the chimp jumps out. It's we've all got that chimp inside us. We've all got one there, and that chimp fills us with aggression, self-doubt, and actually it jumps out, and 10 minutes later it's subsided, it's gone back, right? So but we've already killed the guy on the road because of
road rage.
Exactly, but that's it, you see. So you've got to understand that if that's the chimp that's jumping out at you from the customer, and they don't understand what's going on there with that chimp, that primeval thing, you can't actually stop it. You need to give it a bit of exercise. You need to give it somewhere to vent its frustration. So don't tell them to calm down. Never ever tell them to calm down. Just think, let them blow their top, let them go through that, and then 10 minutes later that chimp will be back in
unless you
box.
want a bit of an argument, in which case you would say calm down.
I love an argument.
I mean, that is the point. I mean, I must admit, I can go so far before I get to a point where I feel, actually, I don't care now. I'm just going to say and I will say it and probably F and blind and all the rest.
Yeah, but if that's your chimp fighting their chimp, then okay, so there's no resolution there when you start doing that. If you put your chimp...
but sometimes you get to a point where you think, I don't give a monkeys about a resolution.
No, but if you... Right, so the clever thing to do
monkeys, you get the chimp and the monkeys there.
The clever thing to do there, really...
We put one in the background for you.
The clever, as if we would do a thing like that. The clever thing to do, just let their chimp rage and rant, and don't bring yours out. Don't even confront them on that, but to let that rant and rave and have its little dance around and beat its chest. Just sit there, wait till that's subsided, then you can come back, and you have got the upper hand because you're calm. You've not lost you've not raised your voice, because you never ever get anywhere doing the other thing, because the other thing, as we said the other week, where are they going to go with this? You're going to fall out, they're not going to pay you.
No. That's the point,
you're going to go off, they're going to curse you. There's no winners in that situation. Whereas in the other situation, and sometimes the other thing that I discovered, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about a particular person we know is a complete and utter bastard. This guy, he's such a horrible guy, honestly.
Why?
And I can't even begin to tell you what he's done and how he's done it. But this guy has a misfortune of living next door to him. Nobody likes this bloke. And I said, I bet you're glad he's moved away now. And this guy's found religion as well, this horrible guy.
Oh, really?
He's found God and he's all the rest of it, but it hasn't changed him. He's still a bastard. But anyway, we were talking about him and he said, you know what? He said, the funny thing is, I think it's his wife. I've met him a couple of times when his wife hasn't been there. And he's been almost civil to me. He's been all right. He said, when his wife is there, he scowls at me, won't even talk to me. And he said that. So sometimes, like you said about Sunday night, sending the email off, had a couple of glasses of wine. Who is this? Who is actually orchestrating this? Is one person reasonable, the other person unreasonable? It comes down to that thing sometimes. The husbands come home. If it's this is a terrible sexist thing to say. It sounds like the bloke's going out to work, the woman's at home. But if she's at home with the kids and he's off at 7 o'clock in the morning, comes back at 7 o'clock at night, and you've been in the house longer than he has, and maybe the kids are calling you uncle by that time.
Or dad.
Let's not go there. But anyway, you can kind of see a bit of a territorial thing there where bloody builders, what are they doing? Aren't they hanging about? They've done no work. I mean, we had this with Dylan's wife, didn't we? Every time she came home, we were drinking tea. We were working like crazy, but
that's just sod's law.
Every time she came home, we were drinking tea. So she was looking. She said, "Well, what have they done today? What's gone on today?"
I mean, that's a classic in the building trade when people come along and you have a really good showing one day. Let's say you're putting stud work up and you can put miles of it up, and they're like, "These builders are fantastic. They're amazing. They did so much work." And then the next day you go around putting door linings in and they can't even see them. They're like, "Didn't do anything today." they've done nothing today at all. And you're like, you haven't got a clue what we did or we didn't do. You don't know how long things do or don't take. Again, it's managing expectations. You say the stud work will fly up and everything else after that slows down, you know? It's managing expectations.
Yeah, it is. It's true that you get a great show of work and people, oh, that's great progress, isn't it? But I think the thing, my mate made a bit of a mistake, really, and he fell out with a customer big time in the end, had to leave the job. But I said to him, I went round there one day to help him with something, and I said, why do you just chuck all those tea bags in the sink like that?
Oh yeah,
because
that's horrible.
I said, what you're doing? Okay, I can understand. They fish them out with a spoon. They chuck them in a sink. They're going to deal with them later. The lady of the house comes home, and what she sees in the sink is a great pile of tea bags. You know, maybe 100 tea bags in there. Okay, there's 4 of them on site, but it's 100 tea bags in there. So she just looks at them and she said, "That's what they've done this morning. Drink tea." You know, and I said to him, it's so simple just to take those tea bags, put them in the bin or hide them or do something else with them. But you left yourself wide open there. Yeah. So she said, all these guys are doing is wasting their time drinking tea all day. You know?
Well, it's like day work, isn't it? If anyone's employing you by the day, they're clock watching you, aren't they? And I've said this before in previous podcasts, that people tend to clock watch you. Whereas if you're on a price or you've got a fixed price, there's a lot more relaxation between parties. Unless you go in and you spend no time doing anything and you charge them for nothing, they might think, "Oh, he's charged me all this money and they didn't really do much." So,
but I think this is terrible in a way, this podcast, because what I've just realised is we've done it all from the builder's point of view and not from the customer's point of view. And we must say that some builders are the builders from hell.
Absolutely.
And some of them are complete animals and they don't deserve, you know, and so there's legitimate reasons to complain about them. So we must see it. I think that's an important thing, is to understand. I think one of the worst phrases I see is, the customer is always right, the customer is king, you know, this kind of thing. Because obviously the customer isn't always right. And if you have that kind of mantra, and if you give them that kind of idea that they're always, I'm the customer, I must be right, then that's a terrible situation to get. I blame Anne Robinson for it, blaming Watchdog and all that complaining.
I know,
encouraging people to complain. You said we're a nation of complainers. Yeah. Do you know what? The other trait is that you're sitting there in a restaurant, you're eating something, it tastes like, you know,
crap, and then someone comes and says, "How's your meal, sir?"
And you go,
"It's lovely, yeah."
Lovely.
Oh, it's like going to the hairdressers, isn't it? And they flash the thing and they go, "How is that?" And you go, "Oh yes, it's great." And you walk out, and most women and wives do that. They go, "Have you had your hair? I've had my hair done today. How is it?" "Oh, it'd be better when I've done it myself." You know, it's a classic. You just spent 200 quid on that haircut, and you said it's better when you. And they get upset.
Yeah, they cry. Yeah, I know. No, you're dead right.
Tell us how many people.
So I said, so that's interesting. If you say we're a nation of whingers, but when it actually comes to complaining, most of us run a mile from it, from the face-to-face complaint. So that's where the keyboard warrior, the text or the email has really come into its own, isn't it?
They do.
To just...
what we need to also sort of touch on is, if you're in commercial arena and you have a sort of dispute or a complaint, arbitration is out there as well. And if you belong to a trade association, for example, such as the Federation of Master Builders, they also do arbitration as well. So if you get into a sticky situation with a client and communications breaking down, you feel that you've done everything in your power to help the job along, to keep it going smoothly, weather's let you down, all of a sudden the client hits you with, "It's taken longer, we're not happy with that, the patio's done, you broke my thing and you scratched my car," and all the rest of it. And all of a sudden it puts you in such a bad light, and it comes as a shock to you, thinking, "I thought they were happy with what's going on," and they end up saying, "Actually, I think we need to, part company," and they're not going to pay you. Then you could go to an arbitration service and they could help you create a framework to fight your side, because sometimes as tradesmen, builders and all the rest of it, we get a little bit emotional about it and we want to go around there and shout and holler, but it's not the best way to do it. You need to be a bit more civilised and meet them on a different level, really. But arbitration is also something that you can Google and look into as well.
Okay, well, I think we've covered it from the tradesman's point of view. Maybe we ought to talk to a customer and try and cover it from the customer's point of view at some point. And if you're a customer, you've had the builders from hell in, and you want to give us a little bit of communication on the website, on the YouTube channel, you can leave your comments below, and we'd love to hear those.
Yeah, and equally, I'd like to personally thank the comments from the last podcast, especially clarifying a couple of the points I made about don't receive part payment. I just thought that was so helpful to me, and hopefully helpful to all the other people who have read that comment as well. So thanks for taking the time. There was a couple of you in particular. The other guy was the debt collection agency guy.
No, he's we're going to do something special with him.
Yeah,
because
really
I
helpful.
spoke to him, and he has a very, very nice procedure. In fact, he said he's helped out a firm. He's reclaimed £150,000 in debts, a London-based plumbing firm, and he said almost every single thing that company did was wrong.
Right.
So he's got some golden rules, which we're covering in a separate podcast, because they're really good, really valuable. If you want to see them, by the way, and you don't want to wait, you can go back to that one on dealing with bad payments on our podcasts, and you can read those comments below, because they were an eye-opener to me, actually. I thought, this guy's got something worked out there.
Absolutely. So thanks again to all the viewers, and if you're not subscribed already, make sure you do subscribe, because we're aiming to do a lot of these topics, because we find it helpful to discuss them anyway as part of our sort of
this is our therapy then, isn't it?
This is our way of enjoying ourselves. This is what we do. I get off on this.
Again, there's a bit of a ramble, so if you want to clarify some of the points we made, we've got some very useful little links in the description. All right, thanks very much for listening, and we'll hopefully we won't see you, but you'll see us or whatever. Listen, hear from you again. No. Yeah. What's happening? How does that work?
I think what you're trying to say is thanks for joining us on this episode of the Skill Builder podcast. Make sure you check back soon. There's some interesting stuff in the can. So we'll see you soon.